For this video, we're going to look at how to quote a passage of Shakespeare and how to write the citation, the in-text citation for that passage. So my legend, anything written in blue is going to be the preamble that integrates the quotation into your body paragraph. Red is the quote itself, and green will be the citation. Now over here in pink, I just have a thesis. So I'm using the topic, was this a true comedy? Was happiness truly restored at the end of the play? So I'm going to take the position that Midsummer's Night Dream is not a true Shakespearean comedy because hierarchy more so than happiness is restored. So I want to use quotes from the text to help illustrate that idea I have about the play. So I'm going to choose a passage in the play that kind of shows that things are out of order because people aren't behaving in the way that they normally are expected to behave. So this is going to fit into that idea that it's hierarchy that is really what's restoring happiness, not actually the characters truly being happy with the situations they end up in. So if I were to be writing this as an essay, I might have a paragraph on how the natural order of things in the world are out of whack because of people behaving opposite to the way they should normally behave. So I'm going to use the example of Titania defying her husband. So remember, Oberon is her husband and he wants her to give him the foundling boy. She doesn't want to do that. She's not obeying him. And that's when he makes Puck go and get the potion and pour it on her eyes. So she falls in love with Bottom and tries to embarrass and humiliate her. And in the end, she does give him the foundling boy and order is restored. And we know that things are out of order because Titania remarks that all the seasons are out of whack. So she says, the spring, the summer, the chiding autumn, angry winter change, their wonted liveries and mazed world, by their increase knows not which is which. So I'm quoting this passage because Shakespeare writes in a poetic form. I have to show where the end of the line is, like I would if I were quoting a poem. So if we were looking at this in a book, the Shakespearean text would read, the spring, the summer, and that would be the end of the line. The chiding autumn, angry winter change, and that's an end of the line. Their wonted liveries and mazed world. That's the end of the line. And I'm showing the ends of the line by using a slash. So that signals to the reader that if this were actual Shakespeare's text in a book, that this would be written with a line break after the words summer, change, and world. I also have to follow the capitalization that Shakespeare uses. So you'll notice that because he's writing in a poetic form, he's starting every line with a capital, whether or not it's the true beginning of a sentence. And when I use the quote, I have to show where in the play the quote appears, and that's what a citation is. And so this is called an in-text citation, and you would put it after the quote. So I'm not using any end punctuation here in the quote because I'm using the citation to end my sentence, so the period will come after my citation. And my citation is essentially an address. It's a coded address that the reader will use to locate the quote if they want to find it later on. So these numbers represent something. So the first numbers are 2. So we're using Roman numerals. And so this first one refers to the act. And you're going to use capitals. The next one refers to the scene, and you're going to use lowercase. And then the last set refers to the lines, and you're going to use numbers. So if it's a series of lines, like in my example, we have 3 lines here, you'll put a long dash to show the range of pages. So this citation reads Act 2, Scene 2, lines 96 to 99. Okay, so to continue, there are some other rules when you are quoting Shakespeare. If you are quoting a really long passage, so that quotation that I used from Titania about how the natural order is out of alignment because she's not abiding by the wishes of her husband. If I wanted to use a longer section of that speech, because I think that the reader would have a better understanding, they might not understand it as clearly if I just use the last little bit of the quote of the speech. So I want to use more of that passage to kind of give examples of how the seasons are behaving uncharacteristically. Because I'm using more than 4 lines, I would need to format it a different way. So when I have a long quote from Shakespeare, I'm going to indent my quote from the left-hand side for every single line, and I am going to transcribe the quotation exactly how it appears in the text. So these are the lines as they appeared in the text. You notice I have no slashes showing where the line ends and the next line begins. So I've just copied it like so. And that means I also need the end punctuation for the end of the speech before the quotation mark, and then I'll just put the citation and the line below it on the right hand side of the page. So there's my citation, Act 2, Scene 2, lines 92 to 96. Now, I should have mentioned before, but I'll mention it now. When you are integrating a quote, you usually need a piece of punctuation to help link the quote to your words. And that's the whole point of an integration, is that you're tying the quotation to your own ideas about the play. So with a long quotation, you typically use a colon, which is 2 dots over top of each other. If you are repeating the speech of someone, so if I wrote this differently and I had it written as Titania observes, I would use a comma after the word observes, and then I would put my quote in. So depending on the nature of the sentence, you might be using a colon like I have, or you might be using a comma to transition from your ideas to the quotation itself.